In this video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly how I use my template to create music faster and more efficiently. I'll walk you through how I've set up arrangement markers to avoid a blank screen, drum routing with preloaded kits, sidechain settings, melody and chord tracks that are already processed for a clean mix, FX and returns that add space and polish without overcomplicating things, and also my basic master chain. By the end of this, you're gonna see how a solid template lets you get straight to the creative flow instead of wasting time setting up a project. And if you would like to download this particular template, leave me a comment and I'll hook you up. As soon as you open up this template, you're gonna see some different tracks here. If you've got a reference track that you want your mix to sound similar to, you can drop that in the top one here. I've got a piano, a Rhodes, a bass line. I've got a couple of tracks here that are grouped under vocal, so you can have some vocal effects or vocal samples in here. Now I've got the drums broken up into two separate parts in the drum. I've got the drum tops in here, so that is not including the kick. I like to keep the kick separate to the drums, so those drums are in a group, and then the kick is in a separate group that's also going into the drums, as you can see there. And then I've got some effects down the bottom. You can also, if you've got multiple channels of those, you can add them to a group as well. So it is a very, very simple and effective workflow, as you can see. I've got some markers up the top here: intro, tension build, first drop, build up, second drop, break, main drop, outro. So this is an almost 3-minute track here. Now I do encourage you to extend this out if you are making electronic music that is more of a club mix. So this would be obviously a shorter radio edit or a Spotify edit. And you can easily do that by selecting and pressing Shift Command D, just like that. And that will duplicate that time there. So you can easily add to this setup right here. First and foremost, the heartbeat of all dance music and electronic music, it is the kick. So the kick here that I've got is the standard Max for Live Ableton kick. It's fantastic because you can mess with all the parameters of the kick. It's very powerful. You can change the pitch, decay, envelope, drive, attack, volume, everything from just a couple of knobs here, and it sounds fantastic. So once you get that sounding nice, you can change the envelope as well. Really change the timbre of the kick. Go nice and deep. And then once you find the right sound for your kick, I would also suggest to bounce that out. So you can either freeze and flatten that here, or bounce it down, select the kick, DS kick in here, and record that through, should you wish. Now, the drum tops, this is a really fantastic way of just having things set up ahead of time and not having to worry about where am I going to find some drum kits, where am I going to find some drum samples. In my drum tops here, I've got a bunch of different drum kits set up: 505, 606, 707, 808, 909. I've got a custom one here as well. So this has just got a bunch of samples that I am feeling at the moment, that are all loaded and ready to go. Same with the 909 kit. If I activate that, I've got some blank MIDI channels here as well, and also some blank audio channels. So if there are some additional drum samples that I just want to drag in, I can drag them in there and just use them at my leisure. So that is the basic drum setup there. Is going to save you plenty of time. Okay, so we'll go over to the vocal channels. Now I've got a custom effects chain for your vocals that I'll leave in this template for you. These are some of my go-to plugins that I use on a vocal. So you would have a little bit of glue compression, got some EQ here. It's preset for an airy vocal. You've got a de-esser as well that will take out some of the harsh frequencies that can pop up in a vocal. And then you've got some sidechain compression that you can set to your kick and just pull down some light sidechain, especially on a vocal. You don't want it too obvious on a vocal, or you might want it very obvious on a vocal, but I tend to go for transparent sidechain on something like a vocal. Okay, so my next go-to is definitely a piano. I have a piano on every single template that I use. I like to start off mainly because a piano is just super easy to hear all the progression, all the notes. You're not second guessing what the music will sound like, and then you can transpose those chords and use them in whatever modality you prefer. So that is a go-to, that is a must, and I also like to have a pad or a Rhodes in pretty much every track that I start as well. So I've added that in for you also. And of course we've got our bass line. That's the analog bass, which is a standard Ableton plugin, fantastic. And I've got a little bit of a custom effects chain here with some plugins that I like to use on bass a lot of the time. A little bit of glue compression, some EQ, wide stereo, depending on the bass sound. If it's super wide, you don't want your bass line to be too wide. So you can control that with the stereo image here. And then also some compression where you can control the ducking of the bass to the kick. Finally, we've got some effects here. Now, with my effects, we can see that this is also sidechaining. I'll leave these sidechain settings here for you. A little bit of a tip here for you with the sidechain as well. To get the groove of the sidechain, it's a nice idea to really go heavy on the threshold to see how it sounds when it's really pumping extremes. So you can really get a taste for where the release should be. Feels nice around 30. And then you can back off the threshold once you get the groove right. So going back to the drum kit here, I'm going to create a quick groove and just show you how I do it. So I'll load up one of the first kits and just get a quick groove going here. If I like that sound, I'll quickly record it in. And I can just quickly duplicate that across, go to the next kit. Okay, I like that. Let's record it in. Bring that volume down slightly. Copy that little hat across. Let's go to the next kit. Let's clear that pattern. All right, love it. Let's record that in. Copy all that. Okay, let's arm the next track. Clear that. So getting a groove quite fast here. Right, so liking that as well. So let's just quickly copy that across and basically got a full drum groove here. And then that just opens up a little bit of inspiration if we get some piano chords happening. All right, let's do that. Like that progression, let's copy that across. Let's get some bass. All right, like that too. Let's just bring that in halfway through. Okay, so finally, what I want to run you through is the return tracks here. Now, I've got some global effects that can be applied to any of these channels here on these return tracks. I've got a short reverb, I've got a long reverb, I've got an echo and a delay that are different times. I've got a drum compressor, and I've got some hot tubes, which is some saturation that you can use as well. So these are really good for different things. Short reverb is really good, for example, on your drum kit potentially. So have a listen to that. Let's put some little bit of short reverb on there. Be careful not to go too heavy with this. Just a really light amount of short reverb on your drums will really pop them out and put them in a space. Super light. The long reverb can be really handy. For example here, let's find that snare. Especially during the build-up. So that can be really useful for build-ups and whatnot. Got a little bit of echo on the fill sound here. Super useful as well. Same with the delay. It's a little bit of a different time. I think it's a great idea to have the echo, or if you've got two echoes, just have them on different times for different instruments. Now, I've got a drum compressor here as well. I would advise to have your drums all balanced before adding that in, because it can really sort of mess with the final sound of the drum. So once you are happy, you can then add in some parallel compression using this. Bring that up. Can really add a lot of punch. How much you add is going to depend on, you know, your taste and style, and you can really sort of crunch that compressor and then even put some saturation after it as well, because it's not directly on the drum channel, it's a parallel, so you can really sort of go to town with that as well. Really smash that threshold. Get some snap into those drums. So we've got some saturation that can also be used on something like drums, like your bass line, like piano, can be used on many, many things. I would advise to use saturation in a very sparing way. Same goes with all effects and compression. Less is more when it comes to that, because over a whole track, adding little bits will then add up and the final sound will be nice and fat. Finally, my master chain here. I like to have some light EQ rolling off anything under 30 Hertz on your master before sending it to a mastering engineer is a great idea. You might want to balance some dynamics as well using the multi-band compression here. I would suggest maybe don't go too hard with the compression, but get the balance how you like it. And then there's a EQ here to help also visualize where you're at. The limiter here, 3 to 6 dB during the production process is not a bad thing at all. Definitely before sending it to a mastering engineer, before you bounce it out, switch that limiter off and bounce it out at -6 to -8 dB to give them plenty of headroom to master your track and pop those frequencies that need to be popped, and also duck, etc. An additional tip, when you are bouncing, before sending it to a mastering engineer, you want to send it as a 24-bit file. You just want to make sure that you're bouncing a 24-bit WAV or AIF or FLAC file for them. You are now good to go with your own custom template. Let me know in the comments how you set up your template workflow, and if you do want to try mine, just comment below template and I'll hook you up. If you found this video helpful, hit that like and subscribe button for more production tips. It helps a lot. Until next time.